Everybody, this is Dream. Sorry for being late on the video. I overslept this morning. I hadn't been feeling good all weekend long. I finally feel a little bit better today, so at least that's the case. Anyhow, again, sorry that this is going to come out a little bit late. I will be doing both DraftKings and Fanduel in this video, so let's go ahead and get into the injury report. Can you please smash that like button and that subscribe button? It really helps the channel. Really do appreciate all you guys, and I do appreciate you guys a lot for watching the videos and commenting and hanging out in Discord and stuff like that. It makes a lot of fun to play DFS. And so I just want to keep doing that. So let's go and get an injury report. For the Blazers, Lillard and Keon Johnson are out. Hart is probable. For the Cavs, LeVert is out and Love is questionable. For the Pacers, Duarte is out. Jackson is questionable. Nembhard is questionable. For the 76ers, Embiid, Harden, and Maxey are all out. For the Hornets, Ball is out. For the Mavs, Dinwiddie is probable and Kleber is doubtful. For the Celtics, Tatum is questionable. For the Wizards, Beal, Morris, and Hachimura are all questionable. For the Heat, this is a long one. Bam is probable. Hero, Vincent, Dedmon are all questionable. Butler, Struss, Robinson, and Oladipo are all out. That's a lot of guys. For the Nets, Curry is out. For the Raptors, Barnes is questionable. Siakam, Achua, and Porter are all out. For the Nuggets, Murray and Highland are questionable. Excuse me. For the Thunder, Pokusevski's out. For the Pelicans, Murray is doubtful. For the Spurs, Podol is questionable. Collins is probable. And Richardson is doubtful. For the Pistons, Cunningham, Stewart, and Bay are out. For the Jazz, Conley is out. And for the Clippers, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Kennard are all out. So we got a lot of injuries today. Obviously, a pretty big slate, but that happens. So we're going to do our DraftKings video first, or part of the video first here, and then I'll switch into the FanDuel. So let's go ahead and get started with the guards that I do like today. We're going to start with Terrence Mann for the Clippers, who we do want to make sure he starts. But if he does start, he's going to be a pretty good value on the slate because he should get a lot of minutes. He is a little bit streaky, though, so do keep that aware, but he still has upside in this matchup. He should get a ton of minutes as a result of Kawhi and people being out. Shake Milton is a good, interesting play today. In the last couple of games, he's been really good. His price point's come up, but he hasn't come up far enough yet to make him unappealing here, especially in the plus matchup against Charlotte. With Maxey out, he's going to get all the run he can handle and all the shot opportunities that he wants, especially with Harden and Embiid also out. For Colin Sexton, with Conley out, he should get a boost here. He's been inconsistent this season, but he has upside in this matchup and upside at the position when it comes to the injury situation. Then Josh Giddey, his price point is a little bit higher than I'd like it to be. I don't love the matchup, but he's been really good the last couple of games, especially with guys out, and so we'll have to check and see what the status of him starting and stuff like that is, but if that's the case, then he'll be a good, interesting play today. Jordan Clarkson's in a similar price range, and with Conley out, he's really taken over more and more. His price has come up, though, so that is a thing to keep aware, but he's still interesting on the slate. John Wall, his price point is a little bit too cheap for his potential here. He is very streaky this season because he's been hurt and doesn't play a ton of minutes a lot of times. But with a lot of these guys out, he should get some upside on this matchup. Then we look at Tyrese Halliburton for Indiana, and he's just been flat out good all season. His price point is actually pretty high as it's been all season, but it's still okay for his production and potential in this game, especially in a plus matchup. And the same can be said for Trae Young. He's been really good all season. He's not been quite as consistent as Halliburton, but he has a good price point today for what he's capable of, and it's actually a little bit cheaper than what it normally is, at least part of the season. So overall, I think there's a lot of good guard options. It's a little bit harder to find good value options at the forward positions, but we're gonna start with Ben Simmons. I don't think I've ever talked about Ben Simmons on one of these videos. The last 3 games, he's been absolutely good, and he's scoring points and getting rebounds and getting assists. Is it fool's gold? Probably. But let's take advantage of it while we can. His price is too cheap based on his production those last 3 games since he's been back and starting. But I have to, man, it's hard to watch him with his history. But he's interesting. Norman Powell also looks interesting today, even though his price points come up a lot. With all the injuries, he's going to get more minutes, and you do want to make sure he starts, though. Same can kind of be said for Nicholas Batum here for the Clippers. He's actually a super value play, especially with the opportunity that he's going to have in this game. He does have upside, but he does have tendency to, not do great. Hayward for Charlotte also looks interesting today. He should get a lot of run in this game. He's been getting a lot of run lately, and his price point has kind of come back down a little bit, and that gives him a viable play on the slate, especially against a team that has a lot of people out. Karl Towns, his price point continues to fluctuate up and down as the season progresses, but he's still in a good spot, and he's been playing extremely well. I think in 3 of the last 5 games he would cover this price, and this is a nice matchup for him. PJ Washington's another guy I like here, though he is inconsistent. He is maddeningly inconsistent. He'll have a 35-point game, then a 50-point game, then a 20-point game, then a 6-point game. And you just want to find him in these spots where he's got opportunity to have the 50-point games. This is kind of one of them with all the guys out for Philadelphia. And then Buddy Hield, who hasn't been good the last few games, but he has a lot of upside. He's played really well this season. His price has come down some. And so he does look like he's a decent play on the slate. Then we'll look at centers here. We're going to look at Kelly Olynyk, who really just looks pretty decent today. He's a little bit streaky, but he has a nice little upside game here against Detroit, who's missing all their big guys. And so he should get some more run and more opportunity there. Rudy Gobert just hasn't played well, hasn't been getting the rebounds we're used to, hasn't even getting the points we're used to. His price keeps falling. At some point, he's going to break out. This last game, he had 0 shot attempts. Like, this is crazy. But he's going to have a big game, and his capability is, 50 fantasy point games. He's even had them this season. So his price point is just too cheap for his potential, especially in a plus matchup. And then finally, Mason Plumlee for Charlotte against Philadelphia. He's been pretty solid all season. He is kind of in a timeshare, but his price point is still pretty good, and he's got some upside in this matchup. So that's what I got for DraftKings. I think it's a really solid slate. Lots of options at every position, obviously, but I try to find the best ones. A lot of injuries are going to potentially change that information as we go through the day, though. So keep an eye. Make sure to check out Discord and come to the check out our NBA news where we keep it updated there, and we have a general chat and stuff like that. Make sure to come check that out. So let's go and get into the FanDuel stuff. We're going to look at point guards here first. So my top 3 here for point guard is Jordan Clarkson for Utah at $6,300. Then we're going to look at Josh Giddey here for Oklahoma City at $6,800. And then we're going to look at Shake Milton for Philadelphia. All 3 of these guys are in plus situations with injury situations on their teams. And I think all of them have viability. Some of them can even be slotted in the shooting guard spot. I also say that Mr. Burks for Detroit has some interesting upside on this particular slate. Then we're going to look at Terrence Mann for the shooting guards. He's playing really well, up and down, obviously, but he's played really well whenever Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are out. And that's what this situation is. So he is viable on the slate. He is a Hail Mary pick. Same with Norman Powell. He plays good in certain instances, and this is the type of instance that I think he will likely play well on. Then we'll look at Colin Sexton, who is just a little bit, he has some more upside with injuries on Utah. Halliburton has been really good all season long, and his price point is pretty fair for what he should be able to do in this game, especially with the matchup and things like that. At small forward, Marcus Morris. Marcus Morris has upside here for the Clippers with other guys out. He tends to have big games when one or both of Paul George and Kawhi are out, and this is a situation where I like him. Gary Trent Jr. looks kind of interesting today because his price point is still pretty good. He has been inconsistent, though, and he hasn't played in a few games, but if he does play today, he bounces back in a plus matchup. Then we'll look at Denny Abdigi. He's been interestingly decent lately, and so he is risky because he is streaky, but he has some upside as a value option. And then Nicholas Batum, obviously, he's been playing really well for the Clippers in certain situations, including games where Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are out. For forwards, we're going to look at Kelly Olynyk. Now, Olynyk has been really solid in plus situations, and this is another one of those. He does have a little bit of risk, but he does have upside in this matchup. Vanderbilt is in the same boat. He's a little bit cheaper too, but he doesn't get quite as many minutes usually, but he has the same amount of upside. And then Collins for Atlanta, his price is a little bit too cheap, and he's been pretty consistent this season. His price has been up and down, so you have to take that in consideration. And then Draymond Green, he should play today, and he should get some good run here. He is streaky though. He hasn't played particularly great all season. He's had some really big games with some bad ones, but we know he has the potential. And then for centers, Zubac for the Clippers, another guy that's really streaky, but he's had some good upside, and this is a plus matchup for him. And Nurkic for the Portland Trailblazers should get more minutes and upside with Lillard out. And then we'll also look at Clint Capella, who has a plus matchup against Sacramento, and he's been pretty solid with a few exceptions this season. And then Mason Plumlee, who has just been pretty consistent all year. He doesn't really have huge games, but he can usually pay off for his price. So with that said, thank you all for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Come out and check the Discord, and have a nice day, guys.